Good evening. I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about Bigfoot cannibalism. The question was once posed to me, and it's been asked several times, do I think Bigfoot eats their dead, or if they're cannibals, or if they actively predate each other? This is a pretty dark subject, and we're going to get into some dark stuff here. So this is going to be fairly graphic. I wouldn't be surprised if this video gets demonetized on YouTube, which means I don't make any money on it, which that's fine. I want to purvey this information to you guys since it's a question that's asked. So, in short, I would say yes, I do believe under certain circumstances they are cannibals. And I do believe if you stretch the phrase cannibalism to other hominid species, because I do feel that they are some kind of an offshoot of hominids related to humans and Neanderthals and everything else. I'm not saying that's exactly what they are, but I think they have a lot of that in them. If you take eating humans and predating humans as also cannibalism as being part of their family tree, I think they do that on occasion too. Uh, Not to say that these are bloodthirsty killers, not to say that they're mindless killing machines. I just think that, like most animals, and even as human beings have proved to be, from time to time, you get in certain desperate situations, things happen, and for one reason or another, people turn to cannibalism. Now, there's the extreme cases of cannibalism in humans where it's some kind of a sick serial killer like Jeffrey Dahmer with severe psychosis and mental issues and the way they were raised and chemical imbalances and all that stuff that makes somebody do these evil inherent acts. Like Jeffrey Dahmer's a perfect example about the terrible things he would do to people and then kill them and then later eat them out of curiosity. Then you have the other end of the spectrum when it comes to human beings, like the Donner Party here. If you've ever read or heard the Donner Party, it's such a harrowing tale. It made me sick to my stomach a while back. I went through and read the whole account and everything that happened in the whole and how it slowly progressed to um, eating their livestock, to being desperate and shooting game, to eating the skin off their bearskin rugs, to being super desperate and having a bunch of kids and family and have to keep the dad strong enough to go find for help. And it's a pretty extreme example of cannibalism out of necessity. And Sasquatch and its different varieties roaming all throughout the United States and cold regions, and the same thing with Russia and China and all around the world where these things and variants of them are spotted. I feel that cannibalism is probably inevitable. I think just like much like the Donners, if I'm a Bigfoot and I'm out in the woods in the middle of a particularly long, harsh winter, and another one of my kind dies, and we're having a hard time hunting, the snow's real deep, I think I'm probably going to eat the person who dies just because it's out of necessity. Sasquatch are a large animal. One of them, even a smaller one, dies at 300 or 400 pounds. It's a lot of meat, and they can probably survive a long time. Humans have a history of cannibalism. Here you see recreation of Neanderthals doing it, and it was common practice. They find all sorts of bones with chip marks and chunks of processing, and as much sentimental value could be placed when you're starving to death, you'll eat somebody else, and it's an unfortunate thing, but it happens. Another are one of our closest living relatives, that non-human living relatives. Also, one of the great apes species is chimpanzees, and we thought they were just kind of peaceful, goofy vegetarians. While their primary diet is mostly fruit, they have been known to eat meat, and we're finding out in a lot of research that they're vicious killers. In fact, here's pictures and things you can see. They often do it out of dominance. They do it out of food. One of those things, they find that they're more cannibalistic and they're more tribal. They go after the other tribe and eat them and hand out the body parts to their troop. Even when there is an abundance of food, it just seems to be, one of the things that chimpanzees do that we're just starting to come out with research now. Now, if you want to go to very non-primate species, but also very large carnivores and herbivores and omnivores that roam, obviously herbivores wouldn't be a cannibal, but you have to understand that large animals in desperate times, like here's a polar bear. Polar bears, as far as bear goes, they eat pretty much exclusively meat. They're predators. They'll hunt people down. They'll hunt whatever they can. And they will not hesitate, and that's why you see a mama bear so defensive, because the only thing they really fear are other bears, maybe mountain lions, but for the most part in North America, bears fear other bears, and male bears particularly are bad news. Same thing with grizzly bears, which are much more omnivorous. In fact, certain times of year they are herbivores, where they eat mostly grass, fruits, nuts, that kind of stuff. But when they can get it, they'll eat meat. They're true omnivores. They're an offshoot of the pig family, which are also omnivores, and they'll eat cubs. If they come across another bear, if they fight with another bear or smaller bear, they will eat them. Because why would you let that meat go to waste just because it's one of your kind? They don't have these social constructs. They don't have these social barriers that we do. And when it comes to Sasquatch, I think they don't have our social barriers. I think that if it's a clan and they're doing really well and they in a temperate climate where they have a pretty steady food source, I think if mom gets old, I think they'll take care of mom. And I think that's why Bigfoots live a long time, is I think they'll take care of each other. And I've heard stories of Bigfoot burial mounds, and I think maybe they do respect their dead to a certain extent. But like I said, when times are tough, you get rogue individuals, one clan versus another clan. And like I said, different varieties. The ones down south seem to be a lot more aggressive than the ones in the Pacific Northwest. And then you have the Wendigo type species, which are purely carnivorous types that we've talked about. I think these would have different aggression levels, and I think cannibalism would be a lot higher in some of these groups and a lot lower. I think that's kind of the most primal fear that we have of these creatures, and most of these cryptid creatures, is what do you think when you see a wild predator? It's going to kill me and eat me. That's the most primal fear that we have. And I think that's pretty straightforward, because these guys live off deer, they live off elk. If they could get the drop on their, if they have combatants, they have territory issues, say there's a family that has a rogue harassing them, and the same way that chimps and other species eat them, I think that it would be pretty good circumstance. The same thing that where if they did find a kill, they would probably break open the marrow like our ancient ancestors reported to do in Africa. And I think that if it was a dead Sasquatch, another one of their own. Now, there have been a lot of reports with Sasquatch bodies that when the Sasquatch bodies are found, when they get shot, or when one gets, there are, like in the Siege of Honabi and some other reports and accounts out there, they're very rare, where people shoot these things and drop them. We're talking chest shots, head shots, dead, big pool of blood. They come back, the body's gone. Now, if their comrades are taking these bodies and burying them, that could be one thing, or if they're taking their bodies and eating them. I've even heard one report of a Sasquatch that was a group of these things were in a frenzy. They were attacking the home. The homeowner stopped and shot one, and it fell dead in its tracks. They shot it with a large caliber rifle to the chest. And the other ones, in their fit of rage, tore the dead one apart. Just absolutely just pulled arms and legs and ripped it apart, much like chimpanzees are reported to do. And I found that very fascinating. Now, like I said, these are just reports and third-hand encounters, but it very kind of fits the hyped-up ape. Even large bears will do that kind of stuff. And I think it's one of the things where there's been a lot of reports of people who have shot these things that the bodies go missing, and they bury them. Do they eat them? Do they probably, I don't think they would let that food go to waste, or that meat go to waste. Some tribes might be more sentimental than others. I think different regions, like I said, probably have different processes that they do and different things. Maybe they eat them and bury the bones. Maybe they bury them in mounds. But like I said, under extreme circumstances, under normal circumstances, do I think Sasquatch would resort to cannibalism? To answer the question, yes. Yes, I think they do. I don't know if they do it all the time, or if different regions and different subspecies of them do it more frequently. It would only make sense that would be it. I know these animals, Sasquatch is capable of great compassion, but I also know they're capable of great violence. So that's pretty much to answer the question. I wanted to share it with you guys today. If you like what you see here, please subscribe. Please leave a comment below, and stay safe in the woods, folks.